What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with DFS bringing you a brand new video. Today's video going over Week 4's quarterback and running backs target on DraftKings main slate. So we got a lot of injuries, not just offensively, but defensively, not just fantasy players, but linemen that affect our fantasy players. So a lot of injuries to consider when going into these matchups this week. So just be on the lookout for injuries for said not only our fantasy players that we're going to be playing in these lineups, but offensive linemen. You're going to look at defensive players as well that you're targeting against and can bring some opportunities. So starting off, you guys can see the key here. This is available for all our subscribers. If you guys are interested, just click the link for our Discord and you can get my spreadsheets whenever you want. They're fully updated Sunday morning for subscribers. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, click the link. So Patrick Mahomes at 7,100 is a tournament play for me. I know a lot of people are on Jalen Hurts. I'm currently have him out just because of the injury statuses to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So I'm leaving him out for now. But Patrick Mahomes against the Chargers, this big division game here. Chargers coming off a loss where not only did they lose the game, but they lost quite a bit of players, both starting tackles. Justin Herbert looks out. Derwin James suspended. So a lot of injuries for the Chargers and a lot of guys out. So I kind of like Patrick Mahomes in a bounce back game against a division opponent here. Just a tournament play, though. I don't really like him for cash. But CJ Stroud, $100 cheaper going against Jacksonville, who we saw just get blown out by Buffalo. And they've been pretty bad lately. Also having a terrible game against Cleveland. So interested to see Tank Dell. I think Tank Dell might be out, but still you have Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. They have a loaded wide receiver room. John Mechie is a guy that'll probably step up. So I'm not really affected about Tank Dell being out. I just think it's a really good matchup for that Houston passing game. Pretty much the whole Houston offense. We'll talk about that shortly. But the game that seems the one to target is the Washington, Arizona. You get Kyler Murray at 6,800, Jaden Daniels at 6,500. So, I mean, if you want to take the cheaper player, go for Jaden. But as far as upside, I kind of like Kyler in this one. Going to have his weapons, right? Marvin Harrison, Greg Dortch, Michael Wilson. The only one he's not going to have is Trey McBride, which is a blow. But the way they've used him this season, it doesn't seem like it'll hurt as much. But Washington's secondary has just been getting torched. Yeah, they beat Cincinnati, but Cincinnati scored one way or another on every drive they had. So Arizona's had some very highs. Obviously, last week was not what I expected against Detroit. I expected a little more of a competition, but in this one, you have two really bad defenses and two offenses that have some explosive power. We saw a high out of Jaden Daniels. He's, I think, currently the quarterback one in fantasy. So this matchup between the two, I think you could go either way. If you need to save 300, you could go Jaden, but if you could afford Kyler, I'm leaning Kyler in this one. Joe Burrow is a tournament play for me just because of his price point. I'm targeting either Kyler or Jaden. I don't want to target Burrow in the middle, but I think it's a really good play against the Carolina defense that's very bad. 7 passing touchdowns against them so far this season. Andy Dalton is a quarterback, so the upside is higher now, but Adam Thielen's gone, so you're hoping Leggett and Mingo kind of step up in that aspect of wide receiver play, but Cincinnati's defense does not look the greatest. Gave up 20 plus points to Kansas City in a very close game. They should have won, honestly. The game against New England, they should have won, but they looked pretty shaky against this one. I don't love Carolina against Cincinnati's defense, but I do like Cincinnati against Carolina's defense. So Joe Burrow's there. Baker Mayfield is a tournament watching the injury statuses of his wide receivers, but I expect both to be good to go against a Philly secondary that is very, very inconsistent. They have some drives where they look really solid, and they have other drives to where it just seems like almost everything is available for the opposing quarterback. We've seen Baker have a really good connection with Chris Godwin since he switched to the slot. You have Mike Evans on the outside with a good matchup. Philly kind of dealing with some injuries. Offensively, that can hurt them. So might be a little skeptical of Baker for that aspect. But if Philly can move the ball against a Tampa defense who's had its up and downs as well, I think that'll be a good one. But Baker at 6,400 for that discount if you wanted to get contrarian. Against Jaden Daniels, he's right there. Aaron Rodgers I have as a stackable type of player. So I don't really love the play. But I think this is a game to where you have Patrick Surtain that's probably yet again going to see Garrett Wilson, right? But we know I don't think Surtain's going to follow Garrett Wilson around. But you've seen him have the connection with Conklin, with Lazard, Mike Williams. Either Lazard or Mike Williams is going to see Surtain, so Mike Williams will have some opportunities. Saw him get a couple targets, but the run game for the Jets have been so good. I just like the Jets' defense against this Denver offense a lot. So I like the Jets' offense as a whole. I kind of like Aaron Rodgers to get 2 or 3 touchdowns in this matchup, hopefully over 200 yards. Brock Purdy is a tournament against New England. New England giving up the 6th most passing yards, 3rd highest completion percentage against. So if Brock Purdy and the San Fran offense can turn it around, see what the injury statuses of his pass catchers will look like, which is why I have him as a tournament. I don't think you need to get there in cash. But Jordan Love, this one we're watching for injury. If he's good to go against Minnesota, I think it's a really, really good play against a Vikings defense that's given up quite a bit on the pass versus the run. So I like Jordan Love in that aspect. Caleb Williams, again, is a cash play for me. He was a value last week. I think he's a really solid cash option. I'm assuming early that we're going to get Keenan Allen back, which is going to be better, and Bears are going to make a switch in running back, and hopefully Roschon Johnson and Khalil Herbert take the running back role over, which from the get-go, I didn't think they needed to sign a running back. I think Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson were a really good 1-2 punch, but they did. He's there now. There's nothing we could do, but the run game of Chicago hopefully is better. Justin Fields, a value play at 5,500 against Indy. We've seen Indy's defense be bad, right? We just saw Caleb Williams throw for over 350 yards against them. The rushing upside with DeForest Buckner not being there currently. Latu's kind of been banged up, so I like Justin Fields in this matchup. The mobile quarterbacks of Kyler and Jaden Daniels up here, Anthony Richardson at 6,300. So for a mobile quarterback to be 5,500, granted the upside really hasn't been there for Justin Fields yet, but I think this is a game where we could have some upside. And then Andy Dalton, a value at 5,300. I mentioned I don't love it against Cincy's defense, but if he could do half the stuff he did against Vegas, I think it'll be a pretty interesting game. But first price point, 13 points isn't bad. And then Taylor Heinicke is one to watch out for a value. I don't love this one at all either, but for a starting quarterback at 5K this week, you might as well, right? A lot of people are going to be playing Kansas City's defense against the Chargers because of the 2 missing tackles. Justin Herbert then essentially would be out, so I think he's a good contrarian play for that if he has upside. So that's it for quarterbacks. Now we go to running backs. Saquon Barkley, tournament play for me. I'm watching if A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are out. I kind of like that. Tampa Bay giving up a lot of fantasy points to running backs in the receiving game, so Saquon does fit that role. It would just be him, Dallas Goedert kind of being the 2 top targets for that offense. Breece Hall, same thing, tournament play. I think Denver's played defense fairly well, but I don't think their defense has really been tested a whole lot. I like Breece Hall. I like this run game that the Jets are very focused on getting going every game between Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. He's just too expensive. I don't think you need to go high in cash this week for running backs. Bijan Robinson, 74 is kind of the most expensive I'd go at running back if you wanted to get there against a Saints team that is very injured offensively. Atlanta has done a lot of plays through Bijan. He's looked very, very good. Division game where it's probably going to be a close game. He's going to get a lot of volume. I like Bijan there. Kyren Williams, a tournament play, $100 cheaper. 3rd best PFF run block advantage. Chicago is a bottom 10 team versus a running back. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, we already know is out. So I expect Kyren Williams to get a good amount of volume yet again. Jordan Mason, cash play yet again 4 weeks in a row. Just going against New England to where if Debo and Kittle are out. Jordan Mason is going to get a lot of volume. You haven't seen them bring in too much running back to get snaps outside of Jordan Mason. So the huge volume against the New England defense, who's I would assume not expected Jordan Mason to kind of beat them, right? You're kind of expecting Brandon Ayuk, Debo, Juwan Jennings now, George Kittle to kind of beat you. Their run defense just hasn't been as good as their pass defense can. And when you have a lockdown corner, that's what happens. So I kind of like Jordan Mason in this one for the volume he gets is just huge. James Conner, tournament play, right? Both terrible defenses. You look at them against the run too, and they kind of fit that mold as well. So just getting contrarian from the passing game, getting someone like James Conner, I think is a good contrarian play there. Aaron Jones, a cash play against his former team, Green Bay Packers, who yet again continue to be a bad team against the run. Josh Jacobs has been really solid for Green Bay in their run game, but I think Aaron Jones as a revenge game at 6,400 is a great price. So Brian Robinson Jr., we already know Austin Eckler's out, and yet again Arizona terrible against the running back. So at 6,100, Brian Robinson's a really solid play at a really solid price this week at running back. Rachaad White, I'm looking as a tournament play, and this is if Bucky Irving is out. If Bucky Irving is out, I like White against Philly. The Philly plays running backs pretty good, but it's the receiving work that I like Rachaad White for. So Bucky Irving has to be out, who just had a did not participate for practice status come up. He was limited on Wednesday, did not practice yesterday. So if he does end up being out, Rachaad White I think is a good play. Zach Moss, another tournament play at 5,900. Carolina is currently the fifth worst defense to running backs. We kind of saw it last year. It's happening again. Zach Moss has got a good amount of volume, not just on the ground, but in the air as well, getting some targets there. Jerome Ford, a tournament play at 5,700, facing a Vegas team that is the third worst versus running backs. We kind of saw Chuba Hubbard have a really good game against Vegas last week. In Cleveland, a team that, without Nick Chubb, hasn't looked as good on the run. But I think Jerome Ford's in for a good one, especially if Pierre Strong's out. It'll just be Jerome Ford and Deontay Foreman to be those two running backs. So 5,700, but for $100 cheaper, Najee Harris. It looks like Jalen Warren's going to be out, so it'll be Najee Harris, Cordell Patterson against a Indy team who has the most rushing yards to running backs allowed, fifth best run block advantage according to PFF. Price point at 5,600 is beautiful, right? And you get Cam Akers, $300 cheaper, who, you don't need to go double cheap running back, right? Like, you can afford a running back with how cheap Najee is, but Cam Akers, 5,300 is a cash play if Mixon and Pierce are out again against a very bad Jacksonville defense. And then I just go down. The two guys I have at volume, 4,300, Cordell Patterson, I mentioned, Warren likely out, and then Roschon Johnson, 4,100. Likely to see an uptick in snaps. So that is it for running backs. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. I'll have the wide receiver and tight end video going out tomorrow, and then I will be live. I promise I will be live on Sunday to kind of go over everything. But yet again, if you guys are interested in getting these spreadsheets, not only for the main slate, but for the showdowns as well, and if you guys are looking at getting my bets and props that I have, that is in our Discord as well. So if you guys are interested, click that link. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.